Vladimir Putin. He is not just a dictator, he is a butcher, a war criminal, and a merciless killer who has left a trail of thousands of bodies from Moscow to Mariupol. The United States must not negotiate with him. We must not normalize him, and we must never allow his influence to spread. To treat Putin as anything less than a criminal is to betray every principle we claim to stand for and every principle our soldiers have defended with their lives. Mr. Speaker, I fear too many Americans have collective amnesia about who Vladimir Putin is. Vladimir Putin deserves to rot in hell, and we must never forget that.
Welcome to the East Anchorage Book Club. I'm your host, Andrew Gray. Today in Anchorage, the world's eyes are on us as President Donald Trump and President Vladimir Putin meet to discuss the fate of Ukraine. Although President Trump has lowered expectations by referring to the summit as a mere, quote, listening exercise, there is anxiety that illegitimate concessions might be made to Russia, concessions that may very well affect our state, such as access to our rare earth minerals or to oil in the Bering Sea. On March 5th of this year, I gave a speech on the House floor about the leader of Russia and any attempts to normalize him. I stand by my words. Here is that speech.
Mr. Speaker, for 25 years, Vladimir Putin has ruled Russia not with legitimacy, but through murder, terror, and unrelenting brutality. He does not tolerate dissent. He eliminates it. His critics are not debated. They are poisoned, imprisoned, shot, or simply disappear. He is not just a dictator. He is a war criminal and an architect of mass suffering. Yet there are leaders, past, present, and aspiring, who praise him, excuse him, and even seek to emulate his ruthlessness. Make no mistake. To admire Putin is to endorse his brutality, and that is a disgrace that history will not forget. Who are these victims of Putin's regime? Alexei Navalny, a man who dared to challenge Putin, was poisoned on Kremlin orders, survived, returned to Russia, and was exiled to a frozen Arctic prison where he was systematically tortured. At 47 years old, he was found dead in his cell. That was 1 year ago. Alexander Litvinenko, a former Russian intelligence officer, was poisoned with radioactive polonium after exposing Putin's secret assassination programs. British intelligence directly linked his death to Kremlin orders. Boris Berezovsky, a Russian businessman worth $3 billion, a close confidant turned critic of Putin, was found hanged in his bathroom. His killing was labeled a suicide, yet his closest associates have since been found dead. Boris Nemtsov, a former deputy prime minister who became an opposition leader, was gunned down just steps from the Kremlin after being stalked by Russian intelligence. Anna Politkovskaya, a journalist who fearlessly refused to stop reporting about Putin's abuses in the face of intimidation and violence. She was shot in her stairwell of her apartment building. The list continues, Mr. Speaker. Sergei Yoshnikov, an investigator of the 1999 Russian apartment bombings, was shot dead in Moscow in 2003 after suggesting that Russian intelligence officers orchestrated the attacks to justify the Second Chechen War. Natalia Estemirova, a human rights activist in Chechnya, documented abuses by Russian forces and local militias. In 2009, she was abducted near her home and was later found with gunshot wounds. Denis Voronikov, a former Russian politician who defected to Ukraine and became a vocal critic of Putin's policies, was shot dead in Kyiv in 2017. Nikolai Andrushenko, a journalist and co-founder of Novi Petersburg, known for his reporting on human rights abuses, was severely beaten in 2017 and later died from his injuries. Vadim Stroikin, a Russian singer who donated to Ukraine and called Putin an idiot, quote unquote, fell from his 10th floor St. Petersburg apartment this year during a police raid. These are just a few of the victims of Putin. Believe it or not, my staff and I edited out many other examples. Putin's regime is defined by repression, lawlessness, and state-sanctioned murder. But Putin's violence doesn't stop at his critics. It extends beyond Russia's borders. Since launching his war against Ukraine, Putin's forces have committed unspeakable war crimes. They have kidnapped over 16,000 Ukrainian children, sending them to Russia, where their families will likely never find them. They have bombed theaters sheltering civilians. They have bombed hospitals. They have bombed power stations, leaving the Ukrainian civilian population in the dark and the cold. All of these are obvious violations of the Geneva Convention, which protects civilians and particularly children in times of war. Russia has tortured and executed prisoners of war and civilians alike. Mass graves of hundreds of civilian bodies have been found in Bucha and Izium. The International Criminal Court has already issued an arrest warrant for Putin, but justice has yet to be served. Mr. Speaker, I oppose the death penalty, but in the spirit of compromise, I believe that there is a man on this planet who has earned it. His name is Vladimir Putin. He is not just a dictator, he is a butcher, a war criminal, and a merciless killer who has left a trail of thousands of bodies from Moscow to Mariupol. The United States must not negotiate with him. We must not normalize him, and we must never allow his influence to spread. To treat Putin as anything less than a criminal is to betray every principle we claim to stand for and every principle our soldiers have defended with their lives. Mr. Speaker, I fear too many Americans have collective amnesia about who Vladimir Putin is. Vladimir Putin deserves to rot in hell, and we must never forget that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.